Amazing. Okay, greetings, beloveds, and welcome to the Open Book Festival 2024 podcast series. My name is Ashanti Kunene, your hostess with the mostest, and today I am in conversation with the incredible, the amazing, internationally acclaimed and award-winning writer and journalist, Margie Orford. Margie, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. I'm so
Hi,
excited.
so am I. I'm very excited. I'm very happy at my introduction. I just have to tell you why, because since the
Um,
Olympics, the
mm,
Olympics, the ones in France, they get up and they say, I hit it out of the park. I outran everybody thanks to my mom and my coach. I think writers must get some of that energy. So when they win the prize, they
yeah.
say, I wrote them out of the park. Thanks to
Yes,
my mom and my
ma'am.
coach. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. And they bite their book and like hold it up.
Amazing. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I know our listeners are just as excited to hear from you. So we can start right off and tell us how you're doing, Mama. How are you feeling? What's in the ether for you at this time in the world?
Well, there's so much going on. I have to say, we're talking like just a couple of weeks before open book, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
that has actually been really in my mind. And I'm not just saying this because we're doing the open book podcast. It really is my favorite festival of all the many I've been to. And I was trying to think why that is, why I'm so looking forward to being there. And it's a place where from its inception, what Mervyn and Frankie have done, that bookshop, the open book, it creates a real sense of community
Mm-hmm.
and a kind of sharing of ideas and a kind of forum in which how people think and feel is really kind of shared, which is something that's so lacking in how the politics is in the world we are at the moment. And I was
Mm-hmm.
also thinking, I came back from a long book tour with my memoir, which I'll be talking about, Love and Fury, absolutely finished. I was away from home, which is now London, for 2.5 months, and I was burnt
Sure.
out. So it's
Sure.
been a long recovery, and I'm kind of better now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, kind of changed. I've kind of changed. I was thinking, how does one live in the world? How does one write into a world which feels so brutal?
Mama.
And yet, out of that brutality, the most unbelievable, small kind of like fledgling bits of hope and care are visible if we look for them. So that's kind of how I am. I sort of feel sort of tender and new.
Tender and you. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, speaking about tender and being vulnerable and brutal, speak to us about your latest book. I love asking writers about their impetus to write, because each book or each story, has its own catalyst, so to speak. So what was it about having to write your memoirs at this time that drove you to say we need to get this out?
Many things. I actually just read a wonderful quote of the marvelous Octavia Butler, who
Mm,
is it's something along these lines that she writes to discover and she writes to discover herself, even though she builds these most incredible
well,
worlds of her of fiction and kind of, all of those sorts of things that she does. And it really struck me because I was thinking, why this memoir? Now,
mhm.
the book had been in a kind of long time coming, and I think being a woman in the world, in public, as I've chosen to be, as we all choose to be in many ways, one always has this feeling you have to give an account for yourself, like explain why you're there, like why are you not
Okay.
dead in
Sure.
like I'm here.
Mm,
Um, and to give an account for yourself for me worked in two ways. So one is that I wanted to explain how I wasn't dead and how I've managed to make a life in other people's lives too, and to give to give an account of that. And also, we always are explaining women why we are in public. You never get a break. It interrupts you. You have to explain. So I thought, okay, I think that was part of it. Um, the other was, I mean, I've written fiction and I've written about, I've always been interested in power and violence and what it does to people, how our bodies, to quote the wonderful Bessel van der Kolk, keep the score. Living
mhm.
in South Africa, in Southern Africa and Namibia, where I grew up as well, in many ways, I had this feeling that it is women's bodies that keep the score of the body politic.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's we
Yes.
kind of an archive of the present and of of the very brutal histories that we've lived in, and try to soften and modify. Someone had to do that, and I'd written 6 novels in various ways about survival and resilience and joy, and to have all of those things, you often have around the grit that you write purling around is the violence that happened. And I had not realized that much of what I wrote came from an attempt in these books to give an account for things that have happened to me in my own life. It took me 6 books. I'm a bit slow, a bit stupid. Let's put it that way. It took me 6 books to get to the thing that, yes, I was giving an account of this. I was bearing witness to something I know in myself. I know in my body. So I think that was part of it. I think that was a lot of it. So to me, memoir is as much a way of storytelling as fiction is. You're telling different kinds of truth in a different sort of a way.
Yeah.
And maybe it took me those 6 novels to get confident enough to tell truth in a very direct way, experiential way. And I thought of it as a way in that book is that memoir is very much like you're opening the house of yourself.
Sure. That's
You're
powerful.
inviting people into your home, and then all the laws of hospitality apply. You must give them food, you must give them an experience that makes them feel nurtured or better, or they can rest, or they can find something, they can go look in your attic, in your basement. I've always given everything away. If people like something in mine, I say, okay, you take it off and go. And I was thinking about, yes, allowing people to inhabit a world I can create or have been able to create, because somehow I got a gift of words, which not everybody has. People have different gifts. And I've been amazed in the response of this book, how many people have said, I found a way to think of my own experience of being a woman. And interestingly, a man. Many men have written to me about this book.
Sure. That's interesting.
Yeah, of all ages, of all races, of all occupations. And the sort of theme has been from the men who's saying, you've helped us understand the women that we live with and what they carry.
And what they carry. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so powerful, Margie. Thank you so much for sharing that. What comes up for me is like, that need for account, because I also feel that in a very real way that, to be this incredible, powerful, outspoken, confident woman, you do have to qualify, justify why you're taking up so much space. And, outside or inside or together with the patriarchy, what is it about society's need to have women account for themselves, specifically women that are in public spaces? And then the question is, does society even deserve you in this way, deserve women in that way,
I don't care if they deserve me or not. They've got me.
Yes. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, and I'm not going away. So
Yes, mama, take space. Oh,
yeah.
So thinking about that and thinking about the times that we're in, the polycrisis, and that we're going through all kinds of transitions, to use new age language, like what are the stories that we need to be reading, like the memoirs? What are the processes? What are the narratives that you think are important for you now and for, I suppose, our listeners? Like, what would you be guiding people towards?
Well, the people who've been guiding me, let me put it like that, because I'm deep into another novel. It's called Common Purpose, and it's kind of a follow on from the novel I did just before the memoir called The Eye of the Beholder,
which is my favorite book.
Oh man, I love it. So Angel is back. Angel
Yes,
is back. Yeah.
I'm ready.
And I have been thinking, because writing the memoir really did sort of change the depth of my perception about the enduring nature of structural violence, which
Mm.
is expressed by individuals, but we live with, you know, the idea of systemic violence. Those things quickly became cliches or jargon or what, I'm not sure, you know, the phrases got emptied out of meaning because I think they were too full of meaning. We don't know what to do with the meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I did my memoir and I looked now at my fiction, I realized what the patriarchy does to women, to queer people, for those who are rebellious against it, is it interrupts us. We just like going along. Think of it as simply as this. You're walking down a road, minding your own business, and you get like catcalled. It hits you in the back like a stone. Boom. It's not going to
I
kill
don't
you. It's
think-
not a bullet, but you're entirely taken out of yourself. You are then having to be wary, have to get back into yourself. It sounds, we all think of it as nothing because we do it so often. And I thought, they interrupt us. They just interrupt us. And how much energy goes to getting over that interruption? So you can think of a sexual assault as an interruption. You look at and what that does. I don't know, it really caught me because as a writer, you know, people, you would know this as well. When people interrupt them, you want to kill them.
Yeah.
Because they get you mid-thought. It's like they can be nice. It can say, would you like a cup of tea? And you're thinking, I would love to stab you with my pen in your eye. And then you have to politely say, no, thank you, or yes, please, or whatever.
Now
And
try
you might
catch
as well have the
again.
tea
Yeah.
because you've been interrupted. So that's been my focus of this idea of the interruption, and where you can't put your energy into doing your life as you wish. You have to like deal with the stuff that happens. And some of it is could take years. And the guides who've came to me, I really have thought of them as sort of guides, have been, and it's the books I've been picking up. You know, your hand goes through your shelf of books or your library or whatever, and you find them. It's been Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison, beloved. That book of her, amazing book of essays of hers, I think it's called Playing in the Light or something like that. Paradise, that book of hers, of how she's just been there, and her incredible wisdom and humor and her capacity to write the body, the experience of the body, and this genius intellect, which then can reflect on what she does. She keeps it two, they're in separate spheres. Audre Lorde has become James Baldwin.
Yes.
I'm Not Your Negro. I mean, the book, the writing, the film, Bell Hooks. Sembène Ousmane's amazing book, God's Bits of Wood, looking at like systemic violence with that incredible thing around a mining strike. So it's like I feel like I'm looking in my writing towards these incredible writers, Frantz Fanon. I mean, many of these are Black writers, and I'm very grateful and appreciative for all my family and their history, what we've done to the world, that they're still coming to help me. I love them for that. But those are the writers who understood this idea of how the world is organized in a way that is pernicious and destructive to most people, and that it's not right, and that it's made that way. It's not natural. It was not born this way. It was made this way. Thanks, Lady Gaga. So those are, another one is Zola's Germinal, which is also about a strike. Yeah, those are the writers. Titi Dangaremba, her incredible trilogy of, you know, this arc of the war in Rhodesia, then Zimbabwe. Yeah, so those are the people that have been coming for, and I think they're the ones who can help us understand what's going on.
Yeah. You said something so powerful, that the phrases were emptied of meaning because they were just too full of meaning and we don't know what to do with meaning. And one of those phrases for me is this thing that you said, that the system was made this way. It didn't just happen. And that, I think, is a very difficult thing for people to understand, you know, that
it seems so totalizing.
Yeah. Sure. But, you know, thinking about that, because that also brings up a sense of accountability for what we've created as a species, as humans, you know, and now thinking into the future about the intergenerational kinds of conversations we must be having. You know, what are the things that you can share with young people, other people generally, to like remain hopeful about the future, you know, because with the chaos also comes the magic, the blank slate, the ruptures, the liminal spaces where we can begin to create new, you know. The destruction represents an opening of a new beginning if we're able to see it in this way.
I think for me, where one must start is, you know, the ancient sort of medical doctor's oath from the Greek times was physician, heal thyself. And I would shift that over and say, writer, person, everybody, know yourself. When you know yourself, which often will get cast by people who don't want to look on themselves and do the work and reflect, etc., as narcissism. You're just thinking about yourself, you're showing off. It's not true. If you get to know yourself, you get to understand the traumas and the joys in your life that drive you. Then you do not inflict upon your children. I mean, South Africans come from a country like Israelis and Palestinians and Germany with deep intergenerational trauma and denial. As long as you're pretending that things didn't happen, you will do that harm to the people who are in your care as a teacher, as a worker, as a parent, a mother, whatever. So the thing of know yourself and understand, I think, is really, really the place to begin, because then you will, and the other great law of medicine is do no harm. You will harm people much less if you reflect. And there are two ways of doing it. It's knowing yourself, knowing where you came from, knowing your history, owning it, living with it, making people, you know, otherwise you get everything is kind of displaced onto others. We look at somebody who, the great orange man who none of us want to think of, who is a nightmarish horror, a man who cannot reflect for a second how dangerous he is, how much murderous harm. I mean, there's a list of men in charge at the moment who have those things. So that thing, and then I mean, I've got 3 kids, 3 daughters, 5 daughters if I count my stepdaughters. That's a lot, like a tribe of young women.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and for them, I always think that I mean, humans have been through so many hard times, and I think, like, as a young girl in the 1980s, you know, as apartheid kind of darkened the sky. I mean, there was no light in the future. It was really a terrifying time we just thought, everybody thought this would go on forever. It was so totalizing, and it didn't. I will never forget that feeling of the light and the air coming back into the room, if I can put it like that.
Oh, that's so powerful.
And it will happen again, but if we work. It didn't go away by itself. It didn't get bored or tired. It was done by collective struggle and people working together and caring for each other.
100%. 100%.
And I also think the other thing I've realized is it's a microcosm. I think a lot of patriarchal thinking, or sort of what I would call male thinking, is you look after the big picture, what's outside there. You take care of, start here. The personal is political. Start at home.
Start at home first before
Yes.
you go up outside.
And then if you've got 10 happy homes, you've got a happy street. If you've got 10 happy streets, you've got a happy village, etc. So it's got to work out from you
outside
all the way out, which doesn't make you, women, pay attention to this, doesn't make you responsible for the whole world, because that knowing is the thing that makes people responsible.
Oh, Thank you so much. What comes up for me as you're sharing that, also referring to the comment that you made that you've had a lot of men from all races, backgrounds reach out to you from this book, is like, we, especially as a mother of daughters, what are the lessons what are the lessons or the narratives or the new framings we need to also give our sons, our brothers, the men, what is the work of the men? So, because, for example, in racial justice work, we often say that white people need to do their own work together, because we're experiencing this. So similarly with the patriarchy and the gender-based violence, as women, we naturally speak to each other and do these things. But for men, also speaking as someone whose father committed suicide for lack of the space of dialogues to talk about what it is he's going through, because masculinity says you feel nothing, you cry nothing, What are the new stories, or how do we find, for lack of a better word, solidarity, because I'm also sitting in a space where I understand that we have a lot of girl empowerment, women empowerment programs. There's a lot of attention on us, but we're not the ones causing the violence upon ourselves.
No.
So,
Shanti, I'm so sorry about your father.
it is what it is. I mean, he is the reason why I do the work that I do, why facilitate open, honest dialogue, specifically about the difficult things, especially when we say we care about each other. Because this obviously happened when I was much younger, but now as a grown-up, when I think about the kind of life my father had, I can't help but feel how lonely he must have been. There were so many people around him, but no one to speak to. And he was
lonely.
so gorgeous, outspoken, somebody who had so much life. But mental health is another piece, I think, that either props up or continues the violence of the patriarchy, because when you have no place to put your emotions or your feelings, it comes out,
and it goes out. Freud, actually, fascinating and controversial Dr. Freud, asked a question which has always stayed with me, is about suicides, especially, is who did that person really want to kill?
Yeah.
Why is it turned in? And it's that question has framed my, I think, was, suicide is something I've thought about myself. And in some ways, what prompted the memoir I wrote was the one thing I could never write was a suicide note. My writing saved me. It would not let me write it. That's the point where I start the memoir, because I couldn't write it. So I couldn't leave. So now everyone had to have a whole bloody book, poor things.
I love this so much.
But there's something, and this comes back to your dad and to masculinity and how we share. Many people said to me, were you not, you're not afraid about what your book going out? So, because many of the subjects I write about carry deep shame within them. Rape, sexual assault when I was a child, a divorce, all of these sorts of things. And I'd say no. And then I thought, where did that shame go? Because it is shame that silences us. Shame is the most complex embodiment of feeling.
Yes, ma'am.
And something that I had done, and I think this is an androgynous activity. It's not to do with men, it's not to do with women. Women have to do it more, perhaps because the shame is more to do with our bodies. We get publicly shamed for being all the things. We know all the things.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's its origin? Usually its origin, as far as I can, it comes into one. It's like a possession when one has felt vulnerable, when one has felt helpless and has been unable to metabolize or integrate those feelings.
Yeah.
So that vulnerability, instead of sharing the shame and being quiet, if we can share vulnerability, that's when you start to get a building of strength. For men, my theory about men is that, and part of the thing with misogyny is they all know they are alive because a woman didn't kill them when they were babies. They were helpless in the hands of women who didn't kill them.
Yeah.
So finding a way in which vulnerability and the knowing of it is understood to be the strength that it is, will enable that oxygen, that breath, that communication to come in, because all of us need care. So what happens with men is the care we give to them very often has to be invisibilized before it's accepted. You know what I mean? How many men have to, the food just appears. It can't be someone thinking, shame, this poor guy's hungry, he's going to faint. You know what I mean? You can't acknowledge any of those body weaknesses. So that thing of vulnerability and just saying the shame, what can happen to you if you say what was shameful? You can cry, you can blush, and then the person says to you next door to you, say, that happened to me. And that it's not shame doubled, it's hot, and it's just like share it out like cake. Okay, it's fine. You made it. You did the most amazing thing. You made it through. So I think that is what we need to do with boys. And you look at, to take away the anxiety of pretending that you're indestructible.
That you got it
I mean,
together. Not true.
there might be a section in the male brain which believes they're all actually action men. I don't know. Scientists, if they could find that, could just like take a tweezer and like take it out. But other than that, it's this sharing of vulnerability, which is the foundation of strength.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, and on that powerful note, I'm not sure if there's anything I could add to that, but I think I agree. The ability to be vulnerable and share and speak into, the light spaces, even when things are tough, is important.
I have to give you a funny example that my youngest daughter, so I gave this kind of spiel to my poor kids whenever they were naughty. This one's feeling, that one's feeling. So my middle one, typical middle child, she's a huge eyes. She's looking at me. She says, listening to me, and her hands are going like, she's 5 years old. She says, Mom, please can I have the smack and not the talk? I want to go and play.
I mean, whatever works. Give me the smack. I don't want to talk to you.
Because the smack is quick and then she can go outside. I said, no, you're getting even longer talk now.
You're getting an even longer talk. Good on you, Mom. That's so true. Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Yeah, I think.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say about mental health.
Share with me.
The word health. I mean, I know what it is and I know what it's saying. For me, a more helpful word, more capacious word has been mental peace. How do we get to a point of mental peace with the way your own mind is, your own brain is, wherever you are and what's happened to you? Health, I don't know. I mean, health is, I know what they mean. It's like but it implies that a kind of thing about being diseased, and diseased carries with it germs and things, fine, sort of genetic or biochemical imbalances. It also has old history of contagion, of moral contagion. So there's like that shadow for me follows the word health. So to me, I've found, if I can think how to bring peace to someone, including myself, how can I bring peace to this person? Somehow we can fit in the biochemistry that needs the drugs, the trauma that needs the therapy perhaps, but then the psychic or the spiritual or the communal thing, which is about peace. And it takes us out of the individual body. Peace is between people. It's a communal activity. And it is an activity. It's not a state. It's an actively done thing that becomes effortless and then is very nice to be in.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Peace is an active action, as love is a decision, not a state.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Mama Margie, thank you so much.
Thank you so pleasure. Much. Lovely to see you and to maybe you'll be around the next one, 25, if you've finished with all your lovely travels.
Yeah, thank you for your energy and for sharing with us today, and for our listeners at home, thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you at the Open Book Festival in Cape Town from the 6th to the 9th of September 2024. Thank you and be well, beloveds. Ciao.
Bye.